So let's start by talking about the philosophy before Heidegger and all the way back, starting with the ancient Greeks. Tell us a bit about the Platonic tradition and as how it evolved into this into rationalism.
That was a question?
No,
Do you want me to talk about Heidegger's view of the history
before we go? I would like you to set up Heidegger by talking about the Platonic tradition of thinking of everything in terms of ideas and reason and things having just properties. Just something we talked about at the beginning of the movie.
Okay. So one of the most influential pieces of our culture in the Western tradition is the influence of philosophy, and in particular the philosophy of Plato. And that's really stamped all sorts of things that you wouldn't even imagine have been affected by this. Plato thought that we grasped the truth of things when we understood the ideas that were behind them. And the ideas were unchanging, the ideas were non-physical, and everything in the world was what it was by somehow participating in the idea. So there was an idea of goodness, and good things were good to the extent that they were a particular instantiation of the idea of the good. Because Plato thought this, there were a number of consequences that followed. One was that the way we know the truth and have access to the truth is not through a kind of sensitive awareness of them. It wasn't by getting in touch with them and through our bodies, but it was simply through the use of our minds and our cognitive capacities, our rational capacities. In fact, he thought the body and everything associated with the body got in the way of knowing absolute truth. One funny way that this is manifested is that Plato thought the purpose of philosophy was to prepare us to die, because it was only after we were dead and our spirits were purged of these material bodies which were obstructing the truth, it was only then that we'd have pure access to the deepest truth about the universe.
And then how was this notion developed through Western history, especially and if you could stop on Descartes and explain a little who he was and how he took this up, these notions a bit to the next level.
Yeah. So the idea that it was through a rational access to the universe, it was through rational grasping of the ideas that we got the truth of entities. That idea stuck. And throughout the Western philosophical tradition, feeding into the sciences and mathematics and all the things that we teach in our universities, we held on to this idea that you really know what something is when you can grasp it through the ideas or through concepts or by putting together a theory which would combine ideas and show how ideas related to each other. That's really stuck, and it's become an important part of our tradition. And it's been a great part of our tradition. That's really at the foundation of Western sciences and the scientific approach to things. And in much, much later, this idea got picked up in a uniquely modern form by a philosopher by the name of Descartes, René Descartes, who was also a mathematician. And I think that's not accidental. What Descartes wanted to do for philosophy and for our grasp of the everyday world, what mathematics had done for our grasp of the mathematical relationships between things. He wanted to break everything down to its simplest conceptual components and uncover the basic connections between concepts. And that was something that reason allowed us to grasp and have access to.
And so there's a lot of talk amongst all these philosophers about dividing up the world between subjects and objects. What does that mean? And yeah, what is this kind of subject-object view of the world that I keep hearing about from all these different philosophers?
Let the wind die for 1 second.
Are you hearing that, Wayne?
He's changing the light on them because everything's moving.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
What about the dog barking?
Never hear that.
The dogs are an issue. The dog is an issue. Yeah.
He's barking.
What's that?
I think because Descartes was a mathematician, he wanted to be able to ground his understanding of the world the way mathematicians do. They find basic axioms, fundamental things which are so simple that they can't possibly be doubted. And he wanted to bring that methodology to thinking about us and what it is to be human and our relationship to the world. And so the way he proposed that we proceed is to find some indubitable foundation, some basis that no person could possibly doubt, and build all of philosophy on the foundation of these most simple, absolutely clear, undeniable beliefs. And Descartes found that the number of things we believe about the world which are not subject to doubt are fairly limited, and they have to do with our internal states, with things, he argued, that are present in our minds. So that I'm thinking is not something I can doubt as long as I'm thinking. And that I exist, because famously, I think, therefore I am, Descartes said. And that this was you could say the mathematical axiom at the basis of all his philosophy. Now the problem was that once he did that, and once he turned our thoughts inward, looking for these basic elements that couldn't be doubted, in a sense he cut us off from the world, and the subject, the sort of inner person. I need to let that go.
Yeah. You're seeing the good and the bad of having a more active. You're doing great.
Okay.
Fine. What are you doing there? Yeah, take off the Do you think it might look better, Gallo, with just the shirt without